Beneath the golden sun and along ancient shores, the Mediterranean Sea has cradled civilizations, shaped empires, and carved out some of the most breathtaking landscapes on Earth. From fortress cities, perched above sapphire waters, to islands where myths still linger in the breeze, each destination tells a story etched in stone, sea, and time. Join us as we journey through the 20 most extraordinary places to visit in the Mediterranean, where history meets the horizon, and every wave carries a legend. Nestled along the northeastern coast of Spain, Barcelona is a vibrant Mediterranean city where Gothic spires rise beside golden beaches. Its roots trace back to Roman times, when it was known as Barcino, and remnants of the ancient city walls still stand in the Gothic quarter. At the heart of this historic center lies the Cathedral of Barcelona, a stunning 13th century Gothic masterpiece. Winding alleys open onto hidden plazas, each echoing with centuries of history and Catalan identity. Just a short walk from here, the ancient Temple of Augustus still preserves 4 columns that have withstood the test of 2 millennia. Barcelona is also defined by the revolutionary vision of Antoni Gaudí, whose architectural legacy reshaped the city in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The Sagrada Familia, his monumental basilica, remains under construction, yet attracts millions each year for its soaring towers and intricate facades. Nearby, Parc Güell reflects Gaudí's fascination with nature and geometry, blending vivid mosaics with panoramic views of the sea. Another standout is Casa Batlló, a former residence transformed into a surreal, wave-like structure that defies conventional design. Each building carries layers of symbolism that draw from both Christianity and Catalan folklore. Barcelona's link to the Mediterranean is also evident in its coastal landmarks. Barceloneta Beach, once a fisherman's neighborhood, now buzzes with energy and seafood restaurants that spill onto the sand. Towering above the old port is Montjuic Hill, home to a 17th century castle and the site of ancient Jewish cemeteries and 1920s Olympic venues. The nearby Maritime Museum, housed in the medieval royal shipyards, displays centuries of seafaring history, including full-scale galleys used by the Crown of Aragon. These layers of architecture, faith, and seafaring tradition showcase Barcelona not just as a beach city, but as a Mediterranean capital with deep historical currents. Along Italy's Ligurian coast lies Cinque Terre, a string of 5 colorful fishing villages carved into steep cliffs overlooking the Mediterranean. These villages, Monterosso al Mare, Vernazza, Corniglia, Manarola, and Riomaggiore, have existed since the early medieval period, linked by winding footpaths and terraced vineyards that descend dramatically to the sea. In Vernazza, remnants of the 11th century Doria castle still guard the harbour, once built to defend the village from pirates. Corniglia, the only village not directly on the water, sits atop a rocky promontory and is believed to have Roman origins. The entire region has been designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site for its blend of cultural significance and natural beauty. The churches of Cinque Terre offer quiet corners of spiritual and artistic history. In Monterosso, the Church of San Giovanni Battista, built in the 13th century, stands out with its striped facade of black and white marble. In Manarola, the San Lorenzo Church, constructed in 1338, features a beautiful rose window and overlooks the rugged coastline. These churches were central to village life for centuries and reflect the simplicity and resilience of Ligurian coastal communities. The region's harbors still house brightly painted boats used for daily fishing, while beaches, like Monterosso's Fagina Beach, offer rare stretches of sand along this rocky coastline. Beneath the water, protected marine reserves safeguard the biodiversity of the Ligurian Sea. And inland, terraced vineyards produce the region's signature Sciacquatra wine, made using techniques passed down since Roman times. Dubrovnik, often called the Pearl of the Adriatic, sits on Croatia's Dalmatian coast, where medieval stone walls rise directly from the turquoise Mediterranean waters. Founded in the 7th century and once known as Ragusa, it grew into a powerful maritime republic rivaling Venice. The city's massive stone fortifications, completed between the 12th and 17th centuries, stretch nearly 2 kilometers and enclose a labyrinth of limestone streets and red-roofed buildings. Entering through Pile Gate, visitors find themselves in a perfectly preserved medieval world. The Straton, the city's main thoroughfare, runs straight to the old port, where merchant ships once docked from across the Mediterranean. Religious and historical landmarks fill the old town. The Dubrovnik Cathedral, rebuilt in the 18th century after an earthquake, stands on the site of a 7th century basilica and houses priceless relics, including what is believed to be part of the cross on which Jesus was crucified. Nearby, the Franciscan monastery contains one of the oldest functioning pharmacies in Europe, dating back to 1317. St. Blaise's Church, dedicated to the city's patron saint, is a Baroque jewel at the heart of the main square. Just outside the walls, Fort Lovrišćanak, built atop a cliff, once guarded the city from both sea and land attacks, and now offers panoramic views of the coastline. Beaches like Banja Beach and Sveti Jakov offer dramatic views of the old town and crystalline waters ideal for swimming. Today, Dubrovnik is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, not just for its architecture, but for its legacy as a free city that thrived on diplomacy and trade. Its streets, churches, and sea-facing bastions still reflect the rhythms of a Mediterranean world, shaped by centuries of resilience and seafaring life. Cradled between the Alps and the azure waters of the Mediterranean, Nice is a jewel of the French Riviera with a history stretching back to the Greeks, who founded it as Nicaea in the 4th century BCE. Its position on the Baie des Anges made it a strategic port for centuries, And its old town, Tunis, still retains narrow, winding streets and ochre-colored buildings that reflect its Italian influence. The Corsalea market bustles with local life, selling flowers, olives, and fresh seafood beneath the shadow of Baroque churches. Above the old town, Castle Hill offers sweeping views and the remains of the ancient citadel destroyed by the French in the 18th century. Religious and architectural treasures abound in Nice. The Nice Cathedral, dedicated to Saint Reparata, dates back to the 17th century and features stunning Baroque interiors. Just outside the old town, the Russian Orthodox Cathedral, built in 1912, is one of the most impressive of its kind outside Russia, a sign of the city's popularity with Russian aristocrats in the 19th century. Along the coastline, the Promenade des Anglais curves like a ribbon beside the sea, a legacy of English visitors who helped shape the city's modern identity. Lavish Belle Epoque architecture, like the Hotel Negresco, lines the seafront in testimony to Nice's golden age as a winter resort. The Port Olympia, still active with colorful fishing boats and yachts, connects the city to centuries of seaborne trade and naval defense. Nice isn't just a Riviera resort, it's a city where ancient roots, Catholic churches, and coastal fortifications meet the rhythms of the modern Mediterranean. Clinging to the cliffs of southern Italy's Campania region, the Amalfi Coast is a stretch of coastline as perilous as it is breathtaking. Towns like Positano, Ravello, and Amalfi spill down steep terraces into the Mediterranean, their pastel buildings stacked like amphitheaters facing the sea. Once a major maritime power in the Middle Ages, Amalfi was the capital of a powerful republic that rivaled Venice and Pisa. Its Cathedral of St. Andrew, built in the 11th century, rises from a grand staircase and houses the crypt of the Apostle Andrew. The town's arsenal, a medieval shipyard, still echoes the sound of hammers from centuries past. High above Amalfi, the town of Ravello offers a different kind of grandeur, one of music, gardens, and sweeping views. The Villa Ruffolo, with origins in the 13th century, inspired Wagner and continues to host open-air concerts overlooking the sea. Its twin towers and floral terraces have witnessed centuries of noble visitors and papal envoys. Nearby, the Villa Cimbrone is famous for its Terrace of Infinity, where marble busts gaze endlessly across the horizon. These hilltop retreats served as both refuges and cultural salons, attracting artists and thinkers from across the Mediterranean world. The Path of the Gods, a trail carved along the mountaintops, connects tiny villages with views that stretch from Capri to Salerno. Down below, beaches like Marina di Praia and Fornillo are hidden in coves, accessible only by boat or narrow footpaths. Lemon groves cascade down the cliffs, feeding the production of the famous limoncello liqueur. Ancient watchtowers still dot the coastline, reminders of Saracen raids that once threatened these shores. Every village, church, and terrace here seems built not just into the cliffs, but into the soul of the Mediterranean itself. Rising from a rocky peninsula between two natural harbors, Valletta is a city built by knights and shaped by centuries of Mediterranean conflict and culture. Founded in 1566 by the Order of St. John, the city was meticulously planned with grid-like streets and fortified walls to withstand Ottoman siege. The Grand Master's Palace, once home to the rulers of the Knights, now serves as a symbol of Malta's chivalric past. Beneath the surface, vast underground tunnels and reservoirs tell the story of a city built for survival. At its heart stands St. John's Co-Cathedral, one of the most lavish Baroque churches in Europe. Behind its austere facade lies a gilded interior, home to Caravaggio's masterpiece, The Beheading of St. John the Baptist. The nearby Upper Baracca Gardens offer views of the Grand Harbour, once a battlefield during the Great Siege of 1565, and later a key British naval base. Every stone in Valletta carries the legacy of war, faith, and maritime power, condensed into just under 1 square kilometre. Valletta's coastline is equally rich in history. Along the waterfront, Fort St. Elmo guards the entrance to the harbour, and today houses the National War Museum, covering everything from the Crusades to World War II. Across the water, the three cities, Vittoriosa, Senglea, and Cospicua, form a living museum of fortified towns. Valletta may be small, but its impact on Mediterranean history is immense, serving as a cultural crossroads between Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. Mykonos, one of the Cyclades Islands, sits like a whitewashed gem in the Aegean Sea, a part of the larger Mediterranean basin. While it's famed today for its glamorous beaches and nightlife, Mykonos has a long history that stretches back to ancient times. According to mythology, the island was formed from the bodies of giants slain by Hercules. The Archaeological Museum of Mykonos holds artifacts from nearby Delos, the sacred island just a short boat ride away, once considered the birthplace of Apollo and Artemis. Mykonos town, or Kora, is a maze of narrow alleys and sugar cube houses designed to confuse pirates in the Middle Ages. The iconic windmills, standing above the town, were used from the 16th century to grind grain carried by ships traveling across the Aegean. Nearby, Panagia Paraportiani, a centuries-old whitewashed church built in asymmetrical layers, is one of the most photographed religious sites in the Mediterranean. It represents a blend of Byzantine, vernacular, and Western architectural styles, a testament to the island's layered past. While beaches like Saru and Elia now attract international crowds, the fishing village roots of Mykonos still survive in places like Anomera, home to the Panagia Turliani monastery founded in the 16th century. Mykonos also played a key role in seafaring during the Ottoman era and Greek War of Independence. Today, its harbors still welcome boats from across the Mediterranean, tying its ancient past to its modern allure. Tucked into the furthest reach of the Bay of Kotor, this medieval town is often mistaken for a fjord, though it's actually a submerged river canyon that meets the Adriatic Sea, itself part of the Mediterranean system. Kotor's stone walls zigzag up the surrounding cliffs, remnants of Venetian rule that shaped the town between the 15th and 18th centuries. Behind its fortified gates lies a perfectly preserved old town, where every square and alley whispers stories of traders, sailors, and conquerors. The Sea Gate, built in 1555, still serves as the main entrance. At the heart of the old town stands St. Tryphon's Cathedral, a Romanesque church first consecrated in 1166, built to honor the city's patron saint, whose relics were brought from Constantinople. Inside are frescoes, marble columns, and a treasury of religious artifacts that survived centuries of earthquakes and invasions. Other important churches like St. Luke's and St. Nicholas represent the coexistence of Catholic and Orthodox communities in this Mediterranean crossroads. Kotor's many palaces, like the Drago and Pima residences, showcase the wealth of the merchant class under Venetian protection. Climbing above the town, the San Giovanni fortress rewards hikers with sweeping views over the bay, dotted with medieval villages and anchored sailboats. Just offshore lies Our Lady of the Rocks, an artificial islet with a 17th century church, built by sailors in gratitude for surviving storms. Kotor's protected harbor made it a vital part of Mediterranean trade routes, and its legacy continues today as one of the region's most atmospheric coastal towns. Corfu, known as Kerkyra in Greek, lies off the northwest coast of Greece, where the Ionian and Adriatic seas meet, forming part of the larger Mediterranean basin. The island's history is a mosaic of cultures. Greeks, Romans, Venetians, French, and British all left their mark here. The old town of Corfu, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is a blend of narrow lanes, grand piazzas, and pastel buildings reminiscent of southern Italy. Dominating the skyline are the twin Venetian fortresses, the Old Fortress and New Fortress, which once defended the island against Ottoman invasions. Among the many churches on Corfu, the most revered is St. Spiridon Church, where the relics of the island's patron saint are preserved and paraded through the streets on holy days. Nearby, the Achillean Palace, built by Empress Elizabeth of Austria in the 19th century, offers neoclassical splendor and sweeping sea views. The island's mix of Orthodox tradition, European elegance, and Greek heritage gives Corfu a layered identity rarely found elsewhere in the region. Corfu's coastline is fringed with hidden coves and olive-studded hills that plunge into clear waters. Beaches like Paleokastritsa, Glyfada, and Cassiope offer dramatic settings, with ruins and monasteries often perched above. Inland, stone villages like Lefkimi and Pelekis preserve centuries-old architecture and slow rhythms of rural life. Corfu has long been a gateway between East and West, and its rich seafaring past still echoes in every port, chapel, and crumbling castle. Facing the Tyrrhenian Sea on the northern edge of Sicily, Palermo is a city where ancient civilizations collide. Founded by the Phoenicians over 2,700 years ago, it later became a cultural hub under Roman, Arab, Norman, and Spanish rule, each leaving behind architectural wonders. The Palatine Chapel, inside the Norman Palace, is a masterpiece of medieval Sicily, fusing Byzantine mosaics, Arab MYKONOS, and Latin Christian design into one dazzling whole. Palermo's cathedral, originally built in 1185, reflects centuries of transformation, its walls mixing Gothic, Baroque, and neoclassical elements. In the narrow alleys of the Calça and Ballarò districts, Baroque churches rise beside street markets filled with Sicilian voices and spices. The Church of San Giovanni degli Eremiti, with its red domes and palm-filled gardens, showcases Arab Norman architecture unique to this part of the Mediterranean. Nearby, the Teatro Massimo stands as Italy's largest opera house, its neoclassical grandeur a testament to the city's cultural ambition during the 19th century. Palermo's coastline is dotted with historical forts and port structures that once served the fleets of empires. The La Cala harbor still cradles fishing boats as it did centuries ago, while nearby Mondello Beach offers a modern contrast with white sands and Liberty-style villas. The city's layered identity, part African, part European, part Middle Eastern, makes it one of the Mediterranean's most complex and fascinating coastal capitals. Sitting along the Dalmatian coast, Split is a city built within the bones of an empire. At its core lies Diocletian's Palace, a sprawling Roman complex commissioned by the emperor himself in the 4th century AD. Unlike a typical ruin, this palace is alive, home to shops, apartments, and centuries-old chapels carved into its marble corridors. The peristyle, once a ceremonial courtyard, now hosts open-air performances with Roman columns as the backdrop. Nearby, the Cathedral of St. Domnius, built into the Emperor's Mausoleum, is considered one of the oldest Catholic cathedrals still in use. Beyond the palace walls, Split blends Roman legacy with medieval charm and Mediterranean rhythm. The Riva Promenade fronts the harbour with swaying palms and open cafes, where locals sip coffee just steps from the sea. Inland, narrow streets wind past Romanesque churches and Venetian facades, revealing the city's layered past under different rulers. The Temple of Jupiter, with its coffered ceiling and sphinxes brought from Egypt, stands as a rare reminder of pagan Rome. Every corner of Split feels like a dialogue between past and present. The coast surrounding Split is dotted with natural and historical treasures. Ferries depart regularly to the nearby Dalmatian islands, such as Hvar and Brač, known for their beaches and vineyards. Backvice Beach, just a short walk from the old town, is a local favorite for its shallow waters and sandy shore, rare for the region. Above the city, Marjan Hill offers panoramic views and ancient hermit chapels hidden in the forest. For centuries, Split has looked out over the Mediterranean not just as a port, but as a living monument to Roman ingenuity and coastal resilience. The Mediterranean's second-largest island, Sardinia, is a land of prehistoric mystery, Spanish towers, and emerald coastlines. Its coastline stretches for nearly 2,000 kilometers, dotted with beaches like La Pelosa, Cala Luna, and the famed Costa Smeralda, all prized for their surreal turquoise waters and rugged backdrops. But beyond its coastal splendor lies a lesser-known ancient world. Sardinia is home to over 7,000 nuraghi, megalithic stone towers built by a mysterious Bronze Age civilization. The most famous, Su Nuraxi in Barumini, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and remains one of the Mediterranean's oldest surviving structures. Sardinia's cities tell tales of conquest and faith. In Cagliari, the island's capital, the Cathedral of Santa Maria rises over the Castello district, once fortified by Pisans and Aragonese. The nearby Basilica of San Saturnino, dating to the 5th century, is one of Sardinia's oldest Christian buildings. On the western coast, Alghero still retains its Catalan Gothic churches and Spanish-influenced dialect, a legacy of Aragonese rule. These architectural layers, blending Romanesque, Byzantine, and Iberian influences, mirror Sardinia's role as a crossroads in the Mediterranean. The island's fortifications reveal its strategic importance. Along the coast, 16th-century Spanish watchtowers still stand guard against pirate raids, while inland mountain villages like Orgosolo preserve traditional murals and customs. From its windswept plateaus to hidden coastal coves, Sardinia offers a blend of wild beauty and ancient enigma, making it one of the most diverse and historically rich islands in the Mediterranean Sea. Tucked into a sheltered bay along Turkey's Lycian coast, Kaş is a former fishing village that still clings to its ancient soul. Once known as Antiphelos, the city was a Lycian port dating back to the 4th century BCE, and its ancient stone theatre still overlooks the Mediterranean with astonishing clarity. Lycian rock tombs, carved directly into the cliffs above the town, silently guard the coast, their ornate facades standing as eternal markers of a vanished civilization. The streets of modern Kaş wind past remnants of Hellenistic walls and sarcophagi that sit casually between cafes and houses. Though small, Kaş holds a deep spiritual and historical heritage. The nearby church of St. Nicholas in Demre, the real Santa Claus, is just an hour away and was once a pilgrimage site for Eastern Christians. Under Ottoman rule, Kaş remained a quiet coastal town, but signs of its Greek Orthodox past still appear in old homes and church ruins scattered through the area. A short boat trip leads to the sunken city of Kekova, where ancient stone walls and staircases lie beneath crystal-clear waters, partially submerged by centuries of earthquakes. Kaş is also one of Turkey's premier spots for diving and coastal exploration. Its beaches are often small and rocky, like Kaputa's Beach, nestled between cliffs, or Big Pebble Beach, known for its calm, clear waters. From sea kayaking over ancient ruins to hiking parts of the Lycian Way, Kaş offers a fusion of myth, maritime life, and living history that defines the eastern reaches of the Mediterranean Sea. Once home to one of the seven wonders of the ancient world, Rhodes remains a jewel of the Eastern Mediterranean. In antiquity, the Colossus of Rhodes, a giant bronze statue dedicated to the sun god Helios, stood at the entrance to the harbor, symbolizing the island's naval power and cultural wealth. Today, the old town of Rhodes, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is encircled by massive stone walls built by the Knights of St. John in the 14th century. Within the city, cobbled streets lead to the Palace of the Grand Master, a fortress palace that echoes with the history of Crusaders and Ottoman sieges. Religious architecture reveals Rhodes' layered past. Byzantine churches, like Agios Phaneurios, sit beside Gothic chapels and Ottoman mosques, creating a cityscape where cultures and empires meet. The Church of Our Lady of the Castle dates back to the 11th century and later became a Catholic cathedral under the Knights. In Lindos, an ancient city on the island's east coast, a clifftop acropolis preserves temples, fortifications, and the Church of St. John, all with views stretching across the sea. Rhodes also boasts some of the most diverse beaches in the Dodecanese. Sambuca Beach, with its golden sands, lies beneath a hilltop monastery, while Anthony Quinn Bay is famed for its clear waters and rocky inlets. Inland, olive groves and pine-covered hills conceal ancient ruins and mountain villages untouched by time. With its ancient wonders, military heritage, and vibrant coastal life, Rhodes remains a cornerstone of Greek history and Mediterranean identity. On the southern shore of the Mediterranean, Tunis sits just minutes from one of history's most legendary cities, Carthage. Once the heart of the great Phoenician Empire, Carthage was a dominant force in the Mediterranean until its destruction by Rome in 146 BCE. Today, its ruins are scattered across a peaceful suburb of Tunis, among them the Antonine Baths, the Tophet, and the Bursa Hill, once the city's acropolis. These remains tell the story of a civilization that rivaled Rome and shaped Mediterranean trade and warfare for centuries. Tunis itself blends Arab, Berber, Ottoman, and French influences into a vibrant cultural capital. The Medina of Tunis, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is one of the best preserved in North Africa, filled with winding alleys, traditional souks, and centuries-old mosques. Among the city's most impressive religious sites is the Zitouna Mosque, founded in the 8th century and long considered a center of Islamic scholarship. The city's museums, especially the Bardo Museum, hold some of the finest Roman mosaics in the world, many excavated from Carthaginian and Roman villas across the region. Along the coast, La Goulette offers a lively port and seafood culture, while the hills of Sidi Bou Said rise above the sea in a charming palette of blue and white. Ancient Roman theaters, Punic harbors, and early Christian basilicas all sit within a short walk or drive from each other, making Tunis and Carthage one of the most archaeologically rich coastal zones in the entire Mediterranean. Together, they tell a story of empire, faith, and maritime power that shaped the southern edge of the sea. HAIFA stretches across the slopes of Mount Carmel, cascading down to the Mediterranean with a blend of modernity, ancient roots, and sacred significance. The city's most iconic landmark is the Baha'i Gardens, a series of 19 terraced gardens leading to the Golden Domed Shrine of the Bab, which draws pilgrims from around the world. But Haifa's history runs much deeper. It was once a Canaanite settlement, then a small port in Roman and Byzantine times. The Crusaders also left their mark here, building fortresses and chapels that now lie in ruins across the Carmel region. Haifa's religious diversity reflects its Mediterranean crossroads status. Just a short drive from the city is Stella Maris Monastery, a 19th-century Carmelite site built atop caves believed to be used by the prophet Elijah. Further inland lies the Church of Elijah, a Greek Orthodox site tied to biblical traditions. The German colony, established in the 19th century, still holds beautifully restored Templar buildings and quaint streets that lead directly toward the sea and Baha'i complex. The interweaving of Jewish, Christian, Muslim, and Baha'i landmarks makes Haifa one of the most spiritually layered cities along the eastern Mediterranean. Founded by Alexander the Great in 331 BCE, Alexandria was once the most brilliant city in the ancient world, home to the Great Library and the towering Lighthouse of Pharos, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Though many of its ancient monuments lie lost beneath modern streets or submerged in the harbor, Alexandria still pulses with a deep historical current. The city became a center of Hellenistic learning, Christian theology, and Islamic scholarship, acting as Egypt's gateway to the Mediterranean. One of the city's most prominent landmarks today is the Citadel of Qaitbay, a 15th century fortress built on the very site of the ancient lighthouse. Just inland, the Kom el Shokafa catacombs, a Roman burial site from the 2nd century, blend Egyptian, Greek, and Roman motifs, a physical manifestation of Alexandria's multicultural identity. The Pompey's Pillar, a lone Roman column rising above the ruins of the Serapeum Temple, reminds visitors of the grandeur that once was. St. Mark's Coptic Cathedral connects the city to early Christian history, said to be the resting place of the Apostle Mark. Modern Alexandria still gazes out across the sea. The Corniche, a coastal promenade stretching for miles, reveals both Ottoman mosques and Belle Epoque mansions. The Bibliotheca Alexandrina, a sleek modern library and cultural center, stands as a tribute to the city's ancient thirst for knowledge. From its Greco-Roman roots to its Islamic foundations and Mediterranean character, Alexandria remains one of the most historically significant coastal cities in the world. Beirut has stood for over 5,000 years at the heart of the eastern Mediterranean, where the Phoenicians once launched ships across the sea from their harbors. Known as Berytus during Roman times, the city became an important center of law and education in the empire, and the remnants of Roman baths and colonnaded streets still lie beneath its modern skyline. Over the centuries, it was ruled by Arabs, Crusaders, Ottomans, and French, each adding a layer to the city's complex identity. Despite its turbulent past, Beirut has always risen, balancing tradition with cosmopolitan flair. Religious and cultural monuments scatter the city. The Mohammed Al-Amin Mosque, with its grand blue dome and Ottoman-inspired minarets, stands beside the St. George Maronite Cathedral, reflecting the city's multi-faith coexistence. The National Museum of Beirut houses some of the region's most important archaeological treasures, including Phoenician sarcophagi and Byzantine mosaics. Nearby, Roman columns and ruins sit in the open air, quietly embedded in the urban rhythm. Each block in Beirut seems to unveil another era, Roman, Arab, Ottoman, or French. The Mediterranean remains central to Beirut's life and soul. The Corniche, the city's seaside promenade, winds along cliffs and coves, where locals stroll beside crashing waves. Just offshore lies Pigeon Rocks, dramatic sea stacks that have become a natural symbol of the city. From ancient ports to upscale beach clubs and seafood restaurants in Ain El Meraisa, Beirut remains as much a Mediterranean port as it is a cultural and intellectual capital. Its resilience and depth make it one of the most compelling stops on the eastern coast of the sea. Whitewashed buildings, blue-domed churches, and sunsets that light up the sky. This is Santorini, Greece. The village of Oya is where those iconic postcard views come to life. Perched on the cliffs, with white houses and winding cobblestone streets, it's like walking through a dream. And when the sun sets, the whole town is bathed in shades of pink and orange, a view you'll never forget. Santorini's volcanic beaches are something special too. Red Beach, with its dramatic red cliffs, and Black Beach, with its pebbly black sand, offer a different kind of beauty. Swimming here feels almost otherworldly, surrounded by the unique colors of the volcanic landscape. But Santorini's past is just as dramatic as its landscape. Around 1600 BCE, the island was rocked by one of the largest volcanic eruptions in history, which buried the ancient city of Akrotiri in ash. This eruption is often linked to the legend of Atlantis, and today you can visit the preserved ruins of Akrotiri, walking through streets that haven't changed in thousands of years. And if you're up for an adventure, a boat ride takes you to the volcanic islands of Nea Kameni and Palea Kameni, where you can hike around the crater or soak in natural hot springs. Santorini isn't just about sights, it's about taste too. The local wine, especially the crisp, dry Assyrtiko, is a must-try. Grown in volcanic soil, it has a flavor all its own, best enjoyed while watching the Aegean Sea stretch out in front of you. Alanya is a beautiful city on Turkey's southern coast that has attracted visitors for centuries. Known in ancient times as Alanya, it has been ruled by many empires, including the Romans, Byzantines, and Seljuks. One of the city's most famous landmarks is Alanya Castle, a fortress built mainly in the 13th century by Seljuk Sultan Alaeddin Kikubad Farf in 1226. Perched on a rocky peninsula, 250 meters above the Mediterranean Sea, the castle's thick walls and 140 towers tell the story of a time when defense was a matter of life and death. Just below the castle lies Cleopatra Beach, a stretch of golden sand and clear turquoise water steeped in legend. According to local law, the famous Egyptian Queen Cleopatra visited the beach, and Roman General Mark Antony even gifted this coastal paradise to her. The beach is not only a place for sunbathing and swimming, but also a reminder of the rich and dramatic history that has shaped Alanya. Families, tourists, and adventurers can all enjoy the blend of history and natural beauty that Cleopatra Beach offers. Today, Alanya is a thriving resort town that combines its ancient past with modern comforts. Visitors can wander through the castle's open-air museum, explore hidden cisterns built to store water during sieges, and climb to high towers for breathtaking views of the city and sea. At the same time, the lively beachfront is lined with cafes, shops, and water sports facilities, making it easy for everyone to experience both history and fun. The balance of old and new gives Alanya a unique charm that continues to captivate people from around the world.